it way down the field to Watkins. Sammy Watkins for the touchdown.
Week 3 is officially in the rearview mirror with plenty of juicy headlines coming out. I'm Adam Wright and CJ Medeiros. You are listening to the Fumblerooski podcast by Power 88 and Secret Weapons Consulting. And we have plenty to talk about, including the Dolphins, who pulled a crazy upset over the Buffalo Bills. We will talk some fantasy. We're going to talk Rihanna to perform at the Super Bowl 57 Halftime Show. And joining us to talk about all of this, we have special guest Aaron Wise, who's already been on the show, about 2 weeks ago, a week ago?
Yeah, something like that. It was probably 2 weeks.
So how are you doing? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. It's just living life, watching football, just having a good time.
Awesome, man. So we might have a few new listeners or some people who may not have listened to the episode last time. Why don't you introduce yourself to some of those folks?
Just come in, watch the live stream, and then learn more about this.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So like, where are you from?
Oh yeah. I'm from Illinois, but currently right now I'm in Kansas for college.
Nice. All right. So we're gonna jump right into it and get into the breaking news of the past day or so, which is that the Pro Bowl is now going to be replaced. So they're replacing it with a series of games that will go on throughout the week. And they'll also do a flag football game. They don't plan on doing 11 on 11 because I believe that they were already doing the Pro Bowl was basically a flag football game anyways, but they're going to try and fix that up. So Pro Bowl is set to be replaced. So guys, what do you feel about this? What do you guys think?
Aaron, do you want to start?
Okay, so how I feel about this? So when I saw the news, I was kind of like, I mean, things kind of had to change up a bit some point because, so like when I was younger, I used to watch Pro Bowl all the time because it was fun because everyone was tackling each other. It was more competitive. Like all the players seemed like they actually want to play. And over time, it just got worse and worse and got less interesting, less fun to watch because it was basically two in touch. So you might as well just change it up. If you're gonna wear pads, you might as well hate each other, but they're really not really hating each other. So the 7-7, I'm not really quite sure what to expect really too much of it, but hopefully it's way more interesting than what we had the last probably decade or so.
All right, CJ.
Now, when they actually, said that the Pro Bowl was going to be canceled, my original reaction was, well, it's about time. You see, the Pro Bowl was, in fact, a glorified flag football game. The Pro Bowl, I have actually never sat down and watched one because the players just don't care. And then that's the sad reality of the fact. And, it used to be in Hawaii and stuff, and, then they moved to, Florida, but it's like you can go to Florida, any time. And I always thought, they should have, moved the Pro Bowl to, different countries and stuff so players would actually, care. But no. The Shield is never wrong, if you can hear the sarcasm in my voice. I hate the Pro Bowl. And do you know what the worst part of it was? The nominations, this guy made a Pro Bowl. Well, yeah, Pro Bowls mean nothing. They are literally a popularity contest. Mitch Trubisky made a Pro Bowl. It's not that hard, apparently. But look, it was long past time it was canceled. And let's face it, the skills challenges are what we cared about anyway. So yeah, this is actually, dare I say, a smart decision by the NFL. It's shocking.
All right, listen. I defended the Pro Bowl when there was talk of it over the summer of it possibly being, abolished for a lack of a better term. But and I'll defend it now. You are the sport that has replaced baseball as America's pastime. Like, you have taken over as like, you think of Sunday, you think of football, and they don't even have they don't have a form of all-star game anymore. And when they did have it, it was just god awful. So, I mean, in my opinion, they need to find a way to make it work instead of just taking it away in general. And I'd like to find ways to make it work. I understand why it doesn't, because football is just such a punishing sport, and the players just don't want to get hurt. It's an exhibition game. It might be a great honor to be a Pro Bowler, but like, the players just aren't going to try because they don't want their careers to end over an exhibition game. And I'd love to find a way for that to make that work. And I've been thinking a little bit about it ever since that it became a possibility. And so they were thinking of doing, excuse me, something where it's a flag football game, but it's not 11-on-11 anymore. They'd make it like 7-on-7 or something like that. But what I was thinking, if you're going to make the teams, like, the amount of people on the field smaller, what if they made it into a tournament? So you have flag football. You make the teams, however they pick the teams is whichever. But you divide all of the Pro Bowlers that have made the Pro Bowl into, let's say, teams of 5, or let's say teams of 10, because there has to be offense and defense. Or you keep it to 5 and you just make it like backyard football. Every fan in the country can relate to it, because that's how backyard football works. You have like an automatic quarterback. You play 5-on-5. You're playing in the backyard. That's fun. I'd love to see something like that where you do it and you divide everyone into teams of 5 and you make it a tournament. See who wins. And you do make that like a day event. That's your Pro Bowl. And the Pro Bowl will be like that'll be like the championship, like the Super Bowl. That's something I would watch. That's something. It's like, it would be like the home run derby in the MLB, where you see that you have that one player who you're rooting for, and it's in a tournament style. That'd be fun. That'd be something I'd watch. But they don't really, like, they just kind of make it into one game where it's like everyone has to get. I just don't see how making the amount of players on the field smaller would help, because that means there's less players. That means more players have to cycle in, and it's hard to rack up statistics because that's less reps for everybody. I just don't see that working. So, like, that's something that I think I would like. But if you guys have any other alternatives, then I'd love to hear it.
So, Adam, I know you said that technically football is going to be the only sport without an all-star game. And yep. I hear that. I do. But here's a hot take. I think all-star games are stupid in general. They serve no purpose. They're injury risks. I mean, for example, look at the NBA all-star game. No one cares about it. It's literally just the dunk contest people watch. And, you know, there's no defense. There's no trying. It's like, and in baseball, you know, there's the home run derby. That's exciting. But the actual all-star game itself, not so much. It's the little exciting microcosms that people want, not the actual game itself. And I don't know what hockey does, but I'm pretty sure that's also terrible. But, I mean, if I'm making any sense, then I think you would know. See, you know what I mean? Just like, do you understand?
Yeah, see, I'm a baseball fan. So I played baseball through high school. I was a baseball guy, and I used to love watching the All-Star game. Now, it's not what it was when I was younger. Excuse me. But it used to be something where when one of my Red Sox players were in there, I'd be flipping the channel just to see that player up to bat. I want to see that player who is representing, and I want to see how he does, because he's on that big stage. I want him to make Red Sox Nation proud. I want that to be what the NFL is. When a Patriots player is up, when, let's say, Mac Jones or let's say Devontae Parker is up, I want to feel that, like what I felt for the MLB All-Star game. Because I think I would say, and I could be wrong, just my opinion, I would say the MLB All-Star Game is probably one of the more entertaining of all the major 4 sports. They need to make it like that and find a way so that people actually view and actually are interested. But no one's interested in the Pro Bowl. It's probably the worst All-Star Game out of all the 4 sports. And that says something considering it's the most popular of the 4. It's a problem.
I mean, yeah, I hear you. I do. But it's like I said, All-Star games in general, I don't care for. And the Pro Bowl is no exception. Like I said, like even, but I know you want to see, your players there, right? But let's face it, we don't care about that. People care about the home run derby. They care about the dunk contest in basketball. It's like, I can't tell you how many times I've been with friends and the game's on, the All-Star game for basketball. We watch the dunk contest, like, all right, and that's it. And, in football, it's like, I pay more attention to the mini games because they're actually fun to watch. And that's all she wrote on that.
Yeah. I don't know, but for me though, let's say the NBA, right? Like the dunk contest has been so bad that no one wants to watch anymore because the players that was in I don't remember who was in the dunk contest that one year. I think it was last year. I don't exactly remember, but it was one dunk contest where they couldn't even dunk the ball. Like, it got so bad that people weren't really watching. People kind of making fun of it. And then I saw like some video on ESPN. I think it was on YouTube or something like that. Stephen A. Smith, he was basically saying stuff like, they need to like the NBA, like the whole league, they need to find people and find actual dunkers that actually care about dunking, and maybe potentially pay them so we can make the dunk contest more interesting again. Because the NBA players basically right now, how they treat how they treat the All-Star game, they basically treat it as vacation period, just to mess around, because the NBA is such a long season. You need a break at some point, because after a while though, you probably will get burnt out by it because you're always playing basketball, you're traveling, you always got to put your 110% every time. So then when the All-Star game comes out, that's really the only time when you actually mess around and just chill out. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's how I see about the NBA part of it. Yeah.
That's kind of that's kind of the issue with it, is that it's during a long season, and the players are already fatigued as is. So, they don't want to get hurt. And it's kind of the same way with the NFL. It's after the season and all these players are already banged up. Everyone's nursing their own injuries of some sort. And that becomes an issue when they have to play in a game. They're not going to want, especially when it becomes flag football, they don't care. They just want to come and enjoy, be around some of their friends who they may not see all the time, who are on different teams, and have a good time and, play a flag football game at maybe 50% effort, if that. But I don't like that effort. I don't like that aspect of it. I mean, I don't, not that I don't want players to have a good time, but I want to make it so that what are you guys doing for me? I want to see something. I want to see something that's entertaining. That's what I want to see. And if you have to tweak the game, if you have to make it a tournament style where it's 5-on-5, do that. But I don't like what we're getting. But I also don't want to just take it away completely. Make something fun, something like that. But we do have to move on. And up next, we're going to talk about the Dolphins and how they pulled a surprising upset over the Buffalo Bills. We'll get to that next. Don't go anywhere. This is the Fumblerooski podcast.
Here's Edelman broken up, and the pass is no sign yet. Edelman comes down with a football. They're saying it's a catch. It's caught! Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable!
Welcome back to the Fumblerooski podcast by Power 88 and Secret Weapons Consulting. I'm Adam Wright, CJ Medeiros, special guest Aaron Wise, and the Dolphins managed to pull off the upset over the Buffalo Bills. So a division rivalry game, and I believe, and now the Dolphins did have the home field advantage in this game. However, the Bills did manage they had the lead for most of this game before the Dolphins pulled ahead after falling behind 14-7. And I believe they never looked back since. 21-19 was the final score. But do you guys think that the Dolphins have proven to be the new team to beat here?
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. Me personally, though, I don't think the Dolphins are the team to beat yet. I'm just not. I don't know. For me personally, I'm just like not quite convinced yet. I think the Dolphins need to do a little more. But the Dolphins though, they have done a lot of good things. Like because me as a Jet fan or just an overall football fan, I'm not really a big Tua guy. I always kind of like criticize his accuracy, his deep accuracy. And on Sunday, like basically week 2, week 3, he kind of proved me wrong. Basically, that he actually could get the ball down the field, which what we saw in the fourth quarter against the Bills when he threw like I don't remember how far it was. Like it was at least like a 50-yard bomb to Jalen Waddle, and it was in stride. And I don't know. I think the Dolphins are actually like a legit team, like a serious team. Like they're not pretenders by any means, but yeah, but I still think the Bills are going to win the division because I still think they're the overall better team than the Dolphins are as of right now. But that's my take on it.
All right, CJ?
That's hard. I lean toward no because, we just haven't seen enough of them yet. Now, beating the Bills, I will admit, I don't know if they're the team to beat, but it certainly makes them legit. There's no doubt in my mind they're legit. But I need to see like the rematch because it was a divisional game, and I need to see more games down the road from them. Oh look, 3-0 is an impressive start, and Tua is proving the doubters wrong. Myself included. But I want to see just a little bit more. If we are around like week 8 and they're like 7-1 or something like that, 7-2, something like that, maybe 8-0. Then, oh yeah, I'm going to pay very close attention. However, the rest of their schedule is kind of interesting. They play the Bengals, who represented the AFC in the Super Bowl, the Vikings, who have been very hot and cold, but still look to take the AFC North, the Steelers in a really stingy defense, the Lions, who look like up-and-comers, and the Chargers, and the Packers, and the Bills again. If you can win most of those games, I'd definitely say you're the team to beat, but they're hovering close to that territory now.
Yeah, so I guess I would say they're not quite there yet, but they have the talent and they have the record that all suggest the same thing, which is that they are well on their way to being that. And when you have a team that has so many new faces added to its roster, and like usually that takes some time to gel, and they're 3-0 right now, so they can only, as barring some serious injury, some serious bite from the injury bug, they're only going to go up from here. So I'm very, very impressed with this Dolphins team, and I feel like we haven't seen their best football yet, and we haven't seen our best football from Tua Tagovailoa as well. Because he hasn't been in a winning – well, he's kind of been in a winning situation, but not to this extent. So we're witnessing a team that's still figuring things out and is still pulling out victories against very good teams, mind you. And the Buffalo Bills have been dubbed early on here the Super Bowl favorite. And we've also looked at the Ravens as a very formidable team. And I know the Patriots aren't one of the best teams in the league, but they're no team to sneeze at with Bill Belichick around, and they have some talent, and I don't know, they didn't make it a competitive game, but maybe I'm just a Patriots fan trying to speak it into existence. But these are some pretty good opponents they're beating, and they're beating them early on. So I'm very encouraged, and I think they're on their way to being one of the better teams in this league. And let's see how they do come knock on wood postseason time.
So I got another take about this. So like my concern with the Dolphins is that like my big concern if I was a Dolphins fan is that don't peak too soon because I've seen teams they start the season out 7-0, they look like the hottest team, and then all of a sudden the second half of the season they start losing a bunch of games, and then they're just not the same team because we've seen I can't remember what year it was, 2008 Broncos or 2009 Broncos, one of those years. They started 6-0, they look like a legit contender, and all of a sudden they finished season 2-6 and missed the playoffs. And then there's that one year with the Vikings when they had Sam Bradford, they started out 5-0, and then all of a sudden they just fell apart. And then recently last year, the Arizona Cardinals, they did make the playoffs, but they kind of fell apart when they started out 7-0. So it's kind of like that's like my biggest concern is like don't peak too early because that could come back to bite you later.
Yeah, that's certainly a concern. I'm just saying that when you have a young team with all this talent that's just thrown together like this, usually they start off slow. Usually they start off slow and it takes some time and then they figure things out. That's I think that's what I believe is happening with the Broncos right now, who are a 2-1, but a very ugly 2-1. Barely pulling out victories, but that's what I expected from the Dolphins. They would kind of be figuring things out later on in the season. That's not been the case. They've been red hot coming right out of the gates, and I feel like they're going to get it even better. And a lot of those teams that you mentioned, they weren't really thrown together. They were kind of already there, and they just went off to a hot start. They put their best foot forward, and as you mentioned, they peaked early. I'm just not sure if this. I mean, that could be the case with this team, but I'm just not sure if it applies to this Dolphins team because it's just a lot of new faces, and it's a very talented team that they have. I mean, theoretically, you could say that they don't really have many weaknesses as long as it turns out that Tua can actually play, theoretically, because I guess the jury's still out. But that's something that we'll just have to figure out about. But we do want to move on. And we've gotten the news for our next performer at the Super Bowl 57 Halftime Show. And we're going to give our takes on Rihanna, who it turns out will be performing. We'll get to that next. This is the Fumblerooski podcast.
Way down the field to Watkins. Sammy Watkins for the touchdown.
You are listening to the Fumblerooski podcast by Power 88 and Secret Weapon Consulting. I'm Adam Wright with CJ Medeiros, special guest Aaron Wise, and we're going to touch on us individually on Rihanna being named the next performer at the Super Bowl halftime show. But first, we have a few friends who want friends of mine who would like to share their thoughts. And we got Caroline Brown. So Caroline, why don't you introduce yourself and give some thoughts on what you think of Rihanna being the next performer?
Hi, I'm Caroline. I am super excited for Rihanna to be the halftime performer. I listen to her all the time, so I hope she brings back some old throwback songs for sure.
Nice. A lot of throwback songs for them. They're definitely, yeah, I could agree with that. But here's our next friend.
Hi, I'm Grace. I completely agree with what Caroline was saying. I'm really excited to watch it. And yeah.
Exciting. Very exciting. Super Bowl halftime show. All right. Here's last but not least.
So my name is Maddie. I'm super excited to see Rihanna perform for the halftime show. Kind of just, concerned for who she's going to pick to perform with her. Music's changed a lot since she put out a lot of her most popular music. So we'll see if she picks somebody that hopefully doesn't upstage her or makes her flop. But I know she's got some tough competition to compete with the Eminem, 50 Cent, Snoop Dogg show from last year. So we'll see if she pulls up and pulls out.
That is correct. Her, music is changing music, but her music is ageless.
It is
so
ageless.
I will say that much.
Yeah.
But all right, so we got your thoughts. Now get the hell out of here. Get off my show. All right. Thank you guys. And
Thank you for listening to the Fumblerooski podcast. Follow them on Instagram.
that's right. Follow us on Instagram, guys. All right. So that was certainly something. All right. Well, Aaron, you want to give your thoughts on, I'm not sure what your music taste is, but what do you think?
Okay, so me personally though, I'm not a halftime person because usually when I watch Super Bowls, they usually like that's usually my time to think about what's gonna happen in the second. I don't know. That's just me. I'm just not really a halftime person. I don't really watch the halftime show. I'm just like whatever. I was like, oh, that's what I think.
Yeah, I mean those three individuals are gonna be watching the Super Bowl for the halftime show as if it's just some concert or something. But but CJ, what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna lie to you. Not a big music guy. I mean, I loved last year's halftime show, man. That was insane. But I mean, overall, I don't usually watch the halftime show. It's usually your chance to get up, stretch your legs, go to the bathroom, grab another whatever you happen to be drinking. Grab some food maybe. Just refill everything. And that's what I use it for. I don't watch the halftime show, but then again, last year's was great, I will admit, because I don't know. I was really excited for that one. I don't listen to a lot of Rihanna. I don't listen to a lot of music in general, so I'm just kind of neutral on it. I mean, I'm sure she'll do fine.
Yeah, listen. So the rumors were, I thought it was actually gonna happen that we were going to get Taylor Swift. And listen, I'm not as critical of Taylor Swift music as most. I think her country music is definitely the best, and I'm not a big fan. I'm not a fan at all of her pop music. And if you are, go, all the power to you. That's just not my music taste. But I was very glad to see that it was Rihanna instead of Taylor Swift. And she may not be still my taste in music, but the fact that it's all a lot of her best hits are throwback music, I'm kind of happy. I don't mind that. A little bit, sometimes you listen to music just to kind of go down memory lane and to think about that time period when her music was, those particular songs were popular. That's kind of something that I'm kind of intrigued by. I don't mind that. And I'll take her over a lot of other artists that they could have picked. So I don't mind it, especially since, and maybe I'm just feeling like this because we thought we were on the brink of having Taylor Swift. So maybe it's just that, but I don't hate it. I don't, it's not my music taste. I'm kind of the same way. I'm not a big halftime guy, at least the halftime show. That's when I get food. I relax from the nervousness of the game, even though the Patriots probably won't be there. So I won't be that nervous, but it's something where I'm just thinking, but I'll be eating some food. Maybe I'll listen to a little bit of it. I'm always just there. The Super Bowl is about the experience most of the time. So, I'm pretty happy about it. But do you guys have any other thoughts before we move on?
Oh, yeah, I got some thoughts. Wait,
right.
Aaron, do you want to go first, or can you say something?
Yeah, I would say something real quick.
Yeah, go right ahead, man.
I don't know what the halftime show. I don't know, because usually for me, I don't know, because when I go to a Super Bowl party, nobody really watches the halftime show. We kind of just shut the TV off for 10 minutes, and then we just talk and just do whatever, and then we turn it back on just to wait till the halftime show gets over. But that's basically I don't know. I forgot. There was one more thing I was gonna say about halftime show. Oh yeah, for me though, I'm not really a Rihanna person. I mean, I've music taste. Obviously, I like Drake a lot and other rappers. I'm kind of a rap guy, so it's like I don't know. Just Rihanna though. I mean, she all right, but I never really listen to her music, so it's like I'm not really that excited because like if I want to listen to her music that bad, I can just go on YouTube and just type in that music in. So I mean, that's all I gotta do. I don't need to wait till like February to listen to it. So that's how I think of it. But
Yeah.
Well,
CJ.
let me just say, Aaron, my friend, you are a man of culture. And when I first heard it was Taylor Swift, I was going to chuck myself out of my dorm window because Taylor Swift is frankly awful. And if any Swifties out there have a problem, well, I really don't care what you think. That is all.
All right. Well, guys, we do have to move on. That was a nice segment, but we do have to move on. And we're going to go on to our Fumblerooski Fantasy Fix, where we're going to give give off some waiver wire ads for you guys. So that'll be next. This is the Fumblerooski Podcast.
Here's Edelman broken up, and the pass is no sign yet. Edelman comes down with a football. They're saying it's a catch. It's caught! Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable! Swings it way down the field to Watkins! Sammy Watkins for the touchdown!
This is the Fumblerooski Podcast by Power 88 and Secret Weapon Consulting. I'm Adam Wright, CJ Medeiros, special guest Aaron Wise, and we are on to our Fumblerooski Fantasy Fix, where we're going to give some waiver wire ads for you guys. And we're going to start off with running back, where we have Bears running back Khalil Herbert, who is a backup for David Montgomery, and who has always been able to put up numbers whenever he comes in relief. It looks like David Montgomery is going to miss some time, so go pick him up. Then you have Alexander Madison. Now, if somebody didn't draft Alexander Madison to handcuff Dalvin Cook already, then shame on them. And you better take advantage of that stupidity. So go and get Alexander Madison if he's on your waiver wire, because that is a running back who can put up RB1 type numbers. All right, so going on, we have Romeo Doubs, or is it Dobbs?
I think it's Daubs.
Daubs. Romeo Daubs for the Packers. He was the preseason guy for Aaron Rodgers during the preseason, and he had himself a breakout game. 8 receptions, 73 yards, and a touchdown, I believe. He had himself a game. And in a pass-catching corps that really doesn't have much to offer for Rodgers, anything is going to help. And the fact that this guy showed out really must have earned some sort of brownie points with Rodgers. So you bring him in. You have Zay Jones as well, coming from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence is starting to come out, and Zay Jones had himself a game this past week. So go and get him as well. He should be on everybody's waiver wire. Going to tight end, we have from the Browns, David Njoku, a guy who's been pretty solid early on in the season. He wasn't really drafted by many fantasy teams, or you could have. I mean, who knows? But this is a player who was committed to really hard by the Browns. In fact, they let Austin Hooper go, and they franchised this guy, and they extended him. So you better believe they're going to get him some targets, because they clearly believe in him. So go with David Njoku. This is a guy who could be going for a while. Now going on to Tyler Conklin. So this is a guy who so the Jets did pay for him to come in, and you would think that it would be CJ Uzomah, but it hasn't been. This guy's been pretty good. Who knows how long it's going to last? especially with the change in quarterback, but he's been the number 3 tight end in fantasy, according to NFLfantasy.com. So go with him. Now going on to some quarterback streamers. If you're looking for somebody to fill in as a backup, or just if you're desperate for a quarterback, Jared Goff is a guy who you're going to want. He's going against the Seahawks defense, and in case you guys haven't noticed, that offense is kind of high flying, especially in the passing game. So Jared Goff is a guy who I would ride out until he's just not working, anymore. Going on literally to the other sideline in that game, we have Geno Smith, who's going against a spotty Detroit Lions defense, especially early on. I believe they're 31st overall again, facing quarterbacks. And Geno Smith is a guy who's been pretty good so far. And on top of that, he has a couple pieces to throw to. He has DK Metcalf. He has Tyler Lockett. He has Noah Fant. And he's been pretty solid. He has a bit of a chip on his shoulder as well. So Geno Smith, you're going to want to go with him. Going with defense and special teams streamers, we have the Green Bay Packers going against the New England Patriots. So the Packers defense is a defense that I've been talking up all season long. And that's a team that I believe is going to they have a great secondary, and their front seven should be able to get to Mac or Brian Hoyer. And Brian Hoyer is gonna be turning the ball over a couple times. So go with the Packers defense. Then we have the Broncos defense going against the Raiders, who have been prone to turning the ball over with Derek Carr. That offensive line is spotty, and that secondary for the Broncos is pretty good. So if I were you, I would pick up the Broncos defense. And so that's all our waiver wire ads. But I believe our pal CJ has a fantasy PSA for our listeners league.
Yes, I do. Thanks, Adam. Now, I'm not going to say, yes, I am actually. Now, I know you're a loyal listener and you're a good friend of the show, Stephen Parker. I swear to whatever God there is, if you offer me another terrible trade for Jonathan Taylor, I might cry. Please stop.
What was the last
help?
What was the last one that he asked?
I don't recall, but I know he would get Jonathan Taylor and I would get like Cam Akers, Keenan Allen, and like somebody else. Steven, buddy, we love you on this show. I do. You're a great listener. You respond to the fan box. But please, man, please don't. I'm not going to give up Jonathan Taylor unless you give me like half your team. This is just the way of the world. But no hard feelings, man. But please stop offering me trades like that. This has been your fantasy PSA. I'm CJ Medeiros, and I approve this message.
All right there. If we don't have any other thoughts on fantasy football, then we'll move on to
one more thing. Make sure you guys get James Robinson. All right.
He's on the waiver wire?
Yeah, if he's still there.
There's no way he's on the waiver wire. He's been drafted in all of my leagues.
Yeah, I wouldn't think he would.
But that's a good trade target, I would say. Yeah. I want James Robinson. I don't have him in any leagues. I drafted ETN.
Yeah, no, like the crazy part about me was that I could have got Michael Thomas and James Robinson, but the reason why I didn't draft those guys because I didn't know James Robinson was going to play because of his Achilles, and Michael Thomas hasn't played in 2 years, so it was kind of risky. So I didn't draft either of them, which I should have took a chance on some of them.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I thought ETN would work out. And he could. I thought he was the most fit. Nope. I guess James Robinson is just having an incredible start to his year.
Yeah, that's crazy. With that torn Achilles, he's like running like he had like 2 big runs for a touchdown, man. I was so hyped.
Man, Achilles tears are supposed to be death sentences for players' careers. But God bless.
Bad.
What's that?
especially at running back.
Yeah, running back, like it's a death sentence for their careers. Other positions you can kind of overcome it. It is still hard, but running backs, like there's never been a running back who's been able to stay in the league for any longer than a couple seasons, or has ever even been the same. But James Robinson is back and is playing better than he did last year. So unbelievable. Good, all the power to him. But I am upset that I'm wrong, because I thought ETN was going to be the guy this year. I thought he was going to light it up, and he still could, but not looking good early on. But we do need to move on, and we're going to get to Aaron's guest segment, where he's once again going to talk about his New York Jets and how they're doing this year. So we'll get to that next. Don't go anywhere. You are listening to the Fumblerooski podcast by Power 88 and Secret Weapon Consulting. I'm Adam Wright, CJ Medeiros, Aaron Wise, special guest. And Aaron is going to touch on the guest segment portion of our show, sponsored by Secret Weapon Consulting for business plans, secret shoppers, bar spotting, server and manager training, and so much more. Visit www.secretweaponconsulting.com. So, Aaron, on your New York Jets, what do you got?
All right, so as you can see, before the season started, we were 0-0, right? So now we're 1-2. And I'm not gonna lie though, I don't know how to feel about the Jets team right now. To be honest, like they've been giving me like some mixed feelings, man. Because like week 1, we didn't really show up. Really, week 2, we kind of show up a little bit, and then we kind of fade out. But like week 2 game, that game was insane. I didn't know what to think or what. I was super happy. Like that made my day when we came back from 2 touchdowns somehow. I don't know how we did it, because I remember minute 55 when Nick Chubb scored. Obviously, I was getting negatives. I was like, bro, we're about to go 0-2 again for like what? Probably the 4th straight year. If it was at this point, and I just feel like what do you want to call it? A tradition. So I was kind of used to. I was too used to losing. It was bad. So at that point, I was like, well, another day, another loss. So what happened was, I think you guys saw the game, but Nick Chubb scores. The beginning of the Browns fails was the extra point. So then we got the ball back, and then Flacco, the second play, he scored a 66-yard touchdown to Corey Davis. I'm so shocked how he got that open. But even when we score, I was like, we're still not winning this game, man. It's over, man. Like it's another tease, because the Jets, they do this to their fans. They tease us. They didn't get the onside kick. I was like, okay, bro. And then after that point, I was on my feet. I was on my feet. I was super surprised. Then Flacco marched down the field and then scored a touchdown with Garrett Wilson. Which, speaking of Garrett Wilson, I think Garrett Wilson is gonna have like a really good, phenomenal season if he can stop getting hurt mid games and coming back. Because I don't know, like Joe Flacco though, even though Joe Flacco is most likely not going to be playing this week, which I hope he doesn't play this week, because I'm kind of tired of Joe Flacco. He's 37 years old. He can't move. Our line is really bad. It's really bad. Like it's banged up. And like I don't know, it's like when you watch Joe Flacco play, you can kind of tell like he doesn't care anymore. Like he's throwing lazy passes, even when the guys are open. It seems off. And like I don't know, at this point, I just think that Joe Flacco he just collecting paychecks, having a good time. He already won a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP. You know, he passed Joe Montana in passing, so it's like what was more he has to accomplish in the NFL. So he's like, whatever, man. I'm just trying to have some fun here because I'm not gonna play forever. And yeah, so I'm glad Zach is coming back because we need Zach because we need to know who he is because it's the second year. We need to know if he's the guy or not. Like I really hope he's the guy because I'm tired every single year. About week 5, we're already talking about Bryce Young and draft season. I'm tired. I'm tired talking about draft when we're 5 weeks in the season. I should be enjoying myself watching football instead of always, oh, well, who are we going to draft next year? Is it going to be Trevor Lawrence, which I really wish we got Trevor Lawrence, but or is it going to be Justin Fields, or is it going to be Bryce Young, or maybe 5 years from now it'll be Arch Manning? Like I'm kind of tired of going through the same quarterback process over and over again. So I really hope Zach Wilson's the guy for the future, so we can stop drafting because it's getting old. It's like it's basically rinse and repeat. So I really hope Zach Wilson comes in and starts slinging the ball. And our defense, I don't know what's wrong with our defense, man. Like I thought our defense was be like I'm not gonna say top 10 because I think that's kind of ridiculous. But I mean like top 15. I thought our defense would be like, all right, like nothing to sneeze at, but it's still good. But our defense has been absolutely terrible, man. Like we've been giving them at least 24 points a game. Like we can't cover nobody for some reason. Sauce Gardner, I'm gonna give him a pass this year because he's a rookie. So I mean, I'm just gonna give him a pass. But like he has had his moments leaving guys open, but I don't know. Like our defense is really bad because like if our defense could just be decent, we can stay in more of these games. But like because lately too, the offense actually has been moving the ball. We just can't score touchdowns now. We just can't score touchdowns because like against Cincinnati, that game was frustrating, man. That game was frustrating to watch. It was a slow death game. We just couldn't get the Burrow. We really couldn't get the Burrow, and then things got bad. You saw Quentin Williams, getting mad at that one coach guy, and yeah, man, I don't know. As a Jet fan, I've seen it so many times. I can see if we don't bounce back this game, I know the season's over. The whole locker room is going to come down to shambles, and then we're just going to start losing a bunch of games that we really shouldn't be losing to. But hopefully we could get back to 2-2, get back to where things are. So because we have too much talent on this team to be playing this bad. Really, we shouldn't be this bad. I don't understand why our team is so bad, but yeah, DJ Reed, he needs to tackle, bro. Like I don't know what that tackle was against T. Higgins there. He basically headbutts him and lets him run. I don't understand that, but yeah, that's basically what I got on my Jets take. I mean, there's a lot more to say, but I'm just keep it short, like how it is.
Yeah, listen, the Jets definitely need Zach Wilson to come back. Not because they actually need the victories. It's because they need to figure out what Zach Wilson is and figure out how he interacts with all these new faces on the team, especially on the offensive side of the ball. A lot of new faces there, very young team, and a lot of question marks. There's a lot of youth on both sides of the ball, so they need to figure out how this team is going to develop, and they need to figure out if Zach Wilson is the guy or not. Yeah, I mean, they need to figure that out. But looking at that game, I was very impressed. I was very impressed with how the Bengals did play because they really needed that victory. They had a lot of issues with their offensive line, and they could not keep Joe Burrow on his feet at all. And that game just showed you just how big of an effect it has when you see that that Joe Burrow is able to be comfortable in that pocket, because he threw 3 touchdown passes and about 25 yards short of 300, but very good game from him. And that's something that I'm going off of the Jets, but that's something that we need to see from the Bengals going forward, because that's what it all comes down to, that offensive line. It all comes down to that. So they're 1-2 now. They have a tough test against Miami coming on Thursday night. So we'll see how they do there. But yeah, I mean, so I think it's that this past game said a lot more about the Bengals than it did the Jets, especially since their starting quarterback has gone down. The expectations for the Jets are kind of low, especially this year. it's a young team. They're still figuring things out. So we're going to see how things go in that juncture.
As as a Jet fan, like obviously I'm a fan of the team because like I've been suffering feels like 10 decades. Like I haven't seen my team in the playoffs since I was 10 years old when we played the Steelers in the championship game. Because like I don't know, it just feels like I don't know. Me as a fan, it just feels like that would have no playoff mandate. It feels like there's no pressure, no nothing. It's okay. We could lose 50 games. We'll be fine. Arrow will be here. Nobody has to worry about anything. That's basically how I kind of feel. Like I don't know, because like Zach Wilson this week, I don't know. It just feels like he's been put in a tough spot because he has no line, which I really hope he doesn't get hurt again because he already has 2 knee injuries, and I don't want him to get hurt again because if he gets hurt again, now what? Now we can't really trust him if he can stay on the field now, and I don't want to be a Sam Darnold 2.0. I really don't. I just really don't want to see that because I've seen Geno Smith get punched in the face. And then his ACL gets teared. Ryan Fitzpatrick comes in, has his Cinderella story, and then craps the bed when it matters most. And then that was honestly the last time when we see when we seen the Jets actually a relevant team. Like nobody was making jokes, no one was saying Jet jokes. No. And then since then we're just like the butt of jokes. And I as a fan, I'm tired of being the laughing stock, man. I'm tired of obviously Chiefs fans because I'm Kansas. They know I'm a Jet fan. You know, they be saying, "Oh, the Jets suck, bro." Like Zach Wilson, he ain't the guy, man. You gotta draft Bryce Young or something. So it's like, I don't know. Like I think for me, for the Jets team, the only way we're gonna get respect in the NFL is if we actually beat good teams and actually win consistently. Then other teams will start respecting us. Be like, yo, we're like the Jets are no joke no more, man. Like they're actually a legit NFL team because there's been some weeks. I wonder if, I literally wonder if we're playing against like Alabama or some D2 school and having trouble beating them. So, I don't know. I just don't know what Jeff and I'm tired of Jeff and quarterbacks, man. Like, it's just first with Mark Sanchez, then Geno. I'm surprised Geno is still in the league. Still, I'm surprised. Like most quarterbacks in his position are usually backups. Or if they're not backups, then they kind of spills out and then you never hear them again. But I'm just going to keep it short with that with the whole Jets thing there.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point about the offensive line because they've gone through tackles like going through water. Like they had that other kid who they drafted a couple of years ago who was going to start. He tore up his knee. And then you had Dwayne Brown, who you brought in, who was a former Seahawk, and now he's on IR, and the guy who replaced him is now on IR. So Zach Wilson's coming off. He's been a little bit injury prone in the early going here, and now he's coming back, and the offensive line's in shambles. When it was actually looking pretty good before the season started, before all this whole bleep show started. It was actually looking pretty good. Now it's not, which is a problem because your quarterback's banged up and he's coming back with an offensive line that's falling apart at the seams. But anyways, we do want to move on and we're going to go to our fan box where we asked you guys for some alternate ideas for the Pro Bowl and we got some interesting ones. So that'll be next. This is the Fumblerooski podcast.
Way down the field to Watkins. Sammy Watkins for the touchdown.
This is the Fumblerooski podcast by Power 88 and Secret Weapon Consulting. I'm Adam Wright with CJ Medeiros, special guest Aaron Wise. We have reached the fan box portion of our show where we post a question sticker on our Instagram every Monday, and you can respond with hot takes, questions, and more. And we will discuss it and give you a shout out on our podcast. Respond to next week's Fanbox question to be featured on our show. Now, the question of the week was, what are some alternative ideas for the Pro Bowl? So they did say what they were going to do kind of vaguely. They said they're going to replace it with a week of games and then flag football. So very, very vague there. So it kind of tells me they're kind of figuring out what they're going to be doing. But interesting answers that came out. The first one, Sean Howe, he said 7-on-7. So he said 11-on-11. So it was 11-on-11 before, and they're thinking of making it like less players. So Sean said 7-on-7. I don't know. Like I said, I just don't think having less players on the field will make it better. It's just, it's only gonna further degrade the defense because that less players on the field favors the offense, I would say. But then Patrick Williver said they draft fantasy teams of normal people to feel our pain when they don't perform. So the infamous, I don't give a F about your fantasy football team coming out of the players. We'll see how they feel after this. This is where we turn the tables on them. But I kind of like that idea. It's kind of fun. It'll never happen, but it's pretty funny. I don't mind that. And they can, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of angry NFL fans who will just purposely do poorly and be like, and give them a big old finger. Be like,
as they should.
Like how, so whoever Nick Chubb drafts, I hope when they run down the sideline and are about to score a touchdown, they just go out of bounds at the last second. And I hope they give them a finger at the same time.
Oh yeah, we're going to salute them, but not in the way they expect.
I didn't fall victim to that, but I know a lot of fantasy owners were very upset that happened. So Nick Norman said, I like this one, by the way. NFL Olympics, each team is like its own country. Who do you think would dominate the most?
Honestly, that's an awesome idea.
That's a great idea because you're still kind of rooting for your team. And it gives the NFL fans incentive to watch it because now you're watching your team.
I actually kind of do like that. Like they see me both like with the NFL Olympics. They see me like, let's say the Patriots, they're their own team, and like the Chiefs, and then the Jaguars, for example, kind of like that.
I think so. Yeah.
That should be kind of cool to watch. I like to see that. So that we get to see who the actual best team is. Like, that'd be actually fun to watch. I'm not gonna lie. I actually will watch that.
In each competition. So you could do the throwing competition with like an offensive lineman. So Dwayne Brown, I'm sorry. Who was the kid that they drafted who was originally supposed to be the tackle?
Becton?
Yeah, Mekhi Becton.
Mekhi Becton.
Yeah, he hasn't played in 2 years.
You'll have him throwing spirals for the throwing competition because it's just whoever's Pro Bowlers are there.
That I'm not gonna lie, I actually will watch that. I actually like that idea.
No, I really
like
do.
Yeah, that's more entertaining than watching, the boring old Pro Bowl that we've been getting for decades. Excuse me, for decades. But
yeah, now Mallory, I think it's Kleppel. Her username is Mal the Golf Gal, and she's responded to a few of our fan boxes. She said massive team obstacle course like in the movie Heavyweights. So I think
I like that.
Yeah, so that's I don't mind it. It sounds a lot like the Olympics idea. But that's still a pretty any of this is better than what we got. But I'm going to stick to my idea. I think we should do a flag football tournament, not just one game, a whole tournament. And maybe we kind of do it where it's like each team is like, so each NFL team has its own 5 players who they select. And they do it that way. So like, yeah, maybe maybe you lost the NFL season, but let's see how the Pro Bowl goes. Something like that. Or they there's a couple ways they could split it, because I'm sure let's say the Atlanta Falcons won't be able to put together many Pro Bowlers. But that's neither here nor there. But that's all our responses. We got 4 of them. It was a tough question to answer. So, but do you guys have any other things to say before we end the show here?
Yeah, I just have one.
Yep.
I'm going to make this fast. You see, they don't do this anymore, but in the olden times, there was like this competition that they had, the Pro Bowl, where it's just who could just huck the ball the furthest. They put like the nose of the ball in chalk and they just threw it down the field so you could do that. I remember one year I saw a video. It was like Manning, Favre, Bledsoe, Cordell Stewart, a few others. But now we have guys like Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. I mean, I would just love to see them just go bombs away,
Yeah, if they did something like that, then that would be an alternative. See, the fans are better at figuring this out than the actual league front office.
Ain't that the truth?
Which says a few things. But all right, guys. Well, thank you, Aaron, for joining the show. Always a pleasure to have you and to get your insight on the game. But that'll do it for us tonight. Thank you for listening to us. Be sure to tune in to us live. Not live. Tuesdays and Fridays at 7:30. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We also have all our episodes available on Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and so much more. Also, be sure to follow our Instagram at Fumblerooski_podcast to keep up with our podcast and the latest coverage on the NFL. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Over and out.